Who is Cardi B, really? A star? A survivor? Or something older? Something darker? Why do her eyes sometimes feel like they're looking straight through you? Why do men who get too close to her vanish from the story? I know, because I was supposed to be one of them. I saw the real Cardi B, the thing beneath the glamour, the demon testing me in the flesh. And once you see her for what she is, you understand. She isn't just a rapper. She's desire turned rotten, a hunger dressed in flesh, lust made into a demon, walking among us. I should have never been in that hotel that night. Every time I think about it, my chest tightens and my stomach knots. It was a mistake, the kind of mistake that ruins lives. A mistake that nearly cost me more than just my marriage, more than just my reputation. It nearly cost me my soul. But before I can tell you about what happened in that room, I have to tell you who I was back then and why I ended up there in the first place. Because I wasn't always this man, the one speaking to you now. I was weaker, smaller, and the truth is, I was lost. My wife and I, we weren't happy. I know everyone says that, but I mean it in the most brutal way. We weren't shouting at each other all the time, not slamming doors and hurling insults. No, it was worse than that. Ours was a quiet kind of misery, the kind where you pass each other in the hallway like strangers, where the bed feels too big and too cold even with two bodies in it. The kind where you wake up and realize you don't talk anymore, not about anything real. We had been married for years at that point, long enough for the shine to wear off and the weight of real life to press down like an anchor. Bills, exhaustion, routines, they strangled the spark out of us. She tried, I won't lie, but I was already drifting, already searching for something I couldn't name. I would come home late, sit in the car longer than I needed to, staring at the dashboard lights just to avoid walking into the silence. I felt like a ghost in my own house, like a man who had died but hadn't been buried yet. And deep down, I hated myself for it, because she deserved better, because I had promised better. That's the part I need you to understand before I go any further. I wasn't proud of what I did. I wasn't proud of where I went. But loneliness is a dangerous thing. It doesn't just eat at you, it drives you, like a hand on your back, shoving you toward the fire, even while you scream not to go. That's how I ended up at the strip club. That's how I met her. It wasn't my first time in a place like that, but it wasn't something I did often. Maybe once or twice before, years earlier, with buddies who thought it was funny, or on a drunken night out. But that night was different. I went alone. No excuses, no friends to blame. Just me, parking outside that dimly lit club in New York City, the sign buzzing faintly with tired neon. I remember standing on the sidewalk, telling myself I wouldn't stay long. Just one drink, just to kill the noise in my head, just a distraction before going back home to the life I had made and couldn't escape. The bouncer barely looked at me. The door swung open, and I was swallowed by it. The smoke, the bass that rattled my ribs, the low murmurs of men too old to be there, but too desperate to leave. And then there was her. I didn't know her name yet. She wasn't a star then, not the Cardi B the world would later know. She was just another dancer in a haze of flashing lights and bodies moving to music that felt more like a heartbeat than a song. But from the moment I saw her, it was different. She wasn't the prettiest girl in the room. She wasn't the flashiest either, but she had a presence, a weight. Her eyes, they didn't just look at you, they looked through you, like she was scanning for something inside your chest, deciding if you were worth the effort. I tried not to stare, but she noticed me anyway. Out of a dozen men sitting there with glazed eyes and empty wallets, she noticed me. And when she smiled, it wasn't the fake smile of a dancer doing her job. It was something else. something sharper. She came over, slow, deliberate. Every step felt like it was meant for me alone. "First time here?" she asked, her voice carrying over the music like she didn't need to raise it. I nodded, though my throat was dry. I should have left then. Should have finished my drink, made some excuse, walked out. But her presence pinned me there. I told myself it was harmless, just a dance, just a night, nothing more. But the way she leaned close, the way her eyes flickered in the light, like for half a second, they weren't brown at all, but something darker, endless. I knew there was something wrong, and yet I didn't move. I let her sit across from me. I let her talk. I let her laugh softly, like we were sharing some private joke in a room full of strangers. That's when she said it. "You look like you need to forget." The words hit me harder than the liquor, because she was right. Because forgetting, even just for an hour, felt like a gift, and I believed her. Looking back now, I realize it wasn't a suggestion. It was an invitation. And by the time I said yes, by the time I let her lead me deeper into that haze of smoke and shadows, it was already too late. That was the night I stepped off the edge. The night I met Cardi B, not as the world knows her, but as she really is. And it was only the beginning of a nightmare I can't forget. The strip club was darker than I remembered. I don't mean the lights, though they flickered and pulsed like dying stars. I don't even mean the shadows that clung to every corner, swallowing faces and blurring lines. No, I mean the air itself, the heaviness of it, the way it pressed down on me like I had walked into a place that didn't want me to leave the same man I was when I entered. The smoke stung my throat, and the bass from the speakers rattled my bones. Every thump of the music felt like it was syncing with my pulse, rewriting it, forcing me to breathe to its rhythm. I looked around and saw men hunched at tables, their expressions vacant, eyes glazed, like prisoners serving out invisible sentences. They weren't there to live. They were there to forget. I thought about my wife, about the silence of our house, the cold bed. For a moment, I almost convinced myself I was just another man, no worse than the rest. But that voice inside me, the one that still whispered of vows and promises, kept asking why. Why here? Why now? Why her? And then she was in front of me again. Cardi moved through that room like it bent around her. The lights seemed to flicker in rhythm with her steps. And when she passed other dancers, they blurred into the background like they weren't even real. All I could see was her. All I could hear was the soft, deliberate click of her heels against the floor. She sat down across from me, leaning forward, her elbows on the table, her chin resting in her hand like she had all the time in the world. The noise of the room dimmed around us. Or maybe it was just me, like the two of us had been sealed inside a bubble of smoke and sound where no one else existed. "You like the dance," she said, her voice soft, but cutting straight through the music. I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. Her eyes studied me, and I swear for a second her pupils stretched longer than they should have, like cracks widening in the dark. I blinked, and they were normal again, warm brown, almost playful. "You look like you need more than that." My throat tightened. "More." She smiled, and it wasn't the kind of smile that belonged in a place like this. It wasn't plastered on for tips or painted on with lipstick. It was knowing, cruel in its way, like a predator smiling at something trapped. "If you think my dances are something," she leaned closer, her lips almost brushing my ear, "you should see my private meetings." The words clung to me, heavy, poisoned. Private meetings. The way she said it, the way her tone wrapped around me, it wasn't an offer. It was a challenge. My voice cracked. I should have told her no. I should have said I was married, that I wasn't that kind of man, that I was just here to drink and then go home. But the truth is, I froze. I couldn't say no. I can't explain it. I've thought about it 1,000 times since then, replayed that moment like a scratched record. It wasn't lust that kept me from walking away. It wasn't even loneliness. It was something deeper, darker, like the choice had already been made for me the moment I walked into that club, like her voice was simply reminding me of a decision I had signed off on without knowing. "Hotel nearby," she said, straightening up, her voice flat now, businesslike. "I'll give you the address." My hands shook under the table. I don't know if she noticed, but I did. That was the moment, the fork in the road where everything inside me screamed, "Don't go." And still, I nodded. Minutes later, I was walking out of that suffocating place, the night air hitting my face like water, but not washing anything away. I should have gone home. I should have gotten in my car and driven as far away from that place as I could. Instead, I pulled the crumpled slip of paper from my pocket, the address she had scrawled with neat, almost perfect handwriting. The drive was quiet, but not peaceful. The city passed me in streaks of neon and headlights, but inside my car, I felt like I was locked inside a confession booth, the silence screaming louder than the music ever had. What was I doing? What was I about to throw away? My wife's face floated in my mind, not smiling, not angry, just blank, like she had already accepted that I was gone. I gripped the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. Every street light I passed cast shadows across my face, each one cutting me into pieces. For a moment, I even thought about turning back, just taking the next left, finding the highway, going home like none of this had ever happened. But then I saw the hotel. It wasn't much, cheap, nondescript, the kind of place where people went when they didn't want to be remembered. Its sign buzzed with tired neon, and the parking lot was cracked and half empty. I parked and sat there, staring at the building. My chest rose and fell too fast, like I was bracing for a crash. This wasn't me. This wasn't who I was supposed to be. And yet, I opened the door. The carpet in the hallway was stained, the kind of stain you don't ask about. The air smelled faintly of mildew and something sweeter, almost metallic. Every step I took echoed too loudly, like the building was aware of me, like it was waiting. When I reached the room number she had written, I stood there for what felt like forever. My hand hovered over the door, trembling. I could still turn back. I could still leave. And then 3 sharp knocks. I froze. The sound didn't come from me. It came from the other side of the door. I held my breath. My heart thundered. Slowly the handle turned, and there she was. Cardi B, standing in the doorway, her smile sharp and knowing, her eyes glinting in the dim light, like they were holding back a secret the world was never meant to see. And that's when I realized, whatever this was, whatever I had stepped into, it was far too late to turn back now. The hotel room was a coffin, the walls pressed in, the air thick and sour sweet, mildew and perfume laced with something metallic. The curtains were drawn, sealing me away from the outside world. A single lamp flickered in the corner, its buzz louder than my own heartbeat. The carpet stuck to my shoes with every step, like it wanted to hold me here, root me in place. Cardi closed the door behind me with a soft click. That sound echoed too long, like the end of something I didn't yet understand. She moved across the room with the certainty of someone who had stood here countless times before. She wasn't a guest in this place. She was the owner. "You're nervous," she said. "Not curious. Certain." I tried to swallow, my throat dry. "Yeah, a little." Her smile was faint, sharp. "Good. That means you know something's coming." She set her purse on the dresser, opened it, and pulled out a small glass bottle filled with a dark liquid, too dark, like ink or blood. She poured it into a waiting glass, then held it toward me. "No one sees the real me," she whispered, "unless they drink." My hands shook as I reached for it. The glass was icy, heavier than it should have been. Every instinct in me screamed no, but my mouth betrayed me. I drank. The taste was bitter, metallic, like iron scraped from the inside of a coffin. The world bent. The lamp buzzed louder, then dimmed. The walls seemed to swell and pulse. I blinked and caught her reflection in the mirror, lagging a second behind her movements, her head tilted at an impossible angle. My breath caught, and when I blinked again, the reflection was normal. She watched me with a faint, cruel smile. Now you'll see me. My vision tunneled. I sank onto the bed, body heavy, lungs laboring. Every inhale scraped like I was drowning in air. When my eyes opened again, she wasn't the same. Her pupils cracked wide and black, stretching like fissures across her eyes. Her smile was too wide, her teeth too sharp, shadows clinging to her skin like living smoke. She crouched low at the foot of the bed, her limbs long, unnatural, eyes fixed on me as though I were prey. "You wanted to forget," she whispered, her voice layered with echoes, dozens of tones merging into one. "Now you'll remember me." She stalked closer, each step deliberate, the carpet groaning beneath her weight. I wanted to move, to scream, but my body was pinned to the mattress, heavy as stone. Her face loomed inches from mine. "Do you know what I am?" I couldn't answer. My tongue was stone. She tilted her head. "I'm not just this." Her shadowy hand swept over her body, skin flickering like smoke. "I'm something older, something louder. I've lived in men's heads long before they wrote my name on bills. They all want me. And soon, the world will too." Her smile widened as she leaned closer, her breath burning cold against my ear. "I hear it already. A song. Something no one can deny. It plays in me, over and over, and I know it will be mine. I'll call it," she paused, savoring the moment, "WAP, and it will be on every chart, every station, every mouth. Lust and hunger, dressed as rhythm." Her laugh was soft, terrible, reverberating through my skull. "Men think they're choosing me. They're not. I choose them. And you." Her nails, black and glinting like obsidian, hovered above my chest. "I could hollow you out, wear you until nothing is left but a name and an echo." The air tightened. Shadows stretched across the bedspread, reaching for me. And then it came out of me, raw and desperate, before I even knew I was speaking. "I'm married." The shadows froze. The room stilled. Her hand hovered inches above my chest, claws poised to pierce. Slowly she tilted her head, black eyes narrowing, her smile fading into something stranger. "Married," she whispered. The word tasted foreign on her tongue. She straightened slightly, studying me. Then, to my horror, she laughed. It wasn't mocking, it was almost reverent. "Do you know how rare that is?" she said softly. "Do you know how many men lie here and never say those words? Faithfulness. It frightens things like me. It cuts through us. Loyalty is a chain I cannot break. You've surprised me." Her smile sharpened again, but now it carried respect twisted into something cruel. "I like married men. Not because I want them, but because I admire the cage they build for themselves. And you," she leaned closer, whispering into my ear, "you passed." The shadows peeled back, retreating from my body. Her features softened, the monstrous cracks fading until she was just Cardi again, just a dancer in a cheap hotel room. But I knew what I had seen. I knew what she was. She stepped back, gesturing lazily toward the door. "Go. Someone else will take your place. Someone weaker." I staggered off the bed, every muscle trembling, lungs dragging in ragged gasps. I didn't thank her. I didn't look back. I scrambled to the door, yanked it open, and stumbled into the hallway. The corridor was silent, lined with stained carpet and flickering bulbs, but it felt alive, like the walls had been listening all along. I ran. Outside, the night air hit me like ice. My chest ached, my breath fogging in the darkness. I clutched my car keys so tightly they cut into my palm. I looked back once. The neon sign of the hotel buzzed faintly, casting its sickly glow. The window of her room was black, impenetrable. But even then, I felt her watching. I climbed into my car, locked the doors, and sat in silence, staring into the mirror. My face looked hollow, pale, like a man who had died and crawled back. I had survived, but I hadn't escaped, because now I knew. She wasn't just a woman, She wasn't just a dancer. She wasn't even just human. She was something older, something that could wear a face, sing a song, conquer a world. And she had let me go. I don't remember starting the car. I don't remember how my hands found the wheel or how my foot pressed the gas. All I know is the sound of the tires tearing against the wet pavement, the neon hotel sign shrinking in the mirror until it was just another red scar in the night. The drive home was silent, but not peaceful. Every streetlight carved shadows across my face, each one like a scar, a reminder. My knuckles were white on the steering wheel, my chest burning with every shallow breath. The city outside was alive with sirens and laughter and the hum of a million lives. But in that car, I was alone with one thought. I should be dead, or worse. When I pulled into my driveway, the house looked different, smaller, colder. My wife's car sat there, the porch light flickering like it was warning me not to enter. I turned off the engine and just sat there, staring at the front door. A part of me wanted to run, to keep driving and never stop, but another part, the part that had shouted, "I'm married," like a lifeline, pulled me out of the car. Inside, the house was still. No music, no TV, just silence. I kicked off my shoes and moved through the hallway like an intruder in my own life. The bedroom door was half open, and I could see her lying there turned on her side, her breathing slow and even. I stood in the doorway for a long time, staring, thinking about what had almost happened, what I had almost thrown away. The weight of it pressed against my chest until I thought I might collapse under it. I slipped into bed beside her, careful not to wake her. The sheets were cool, and for the first time in years, I felt the distance between us. Not physical, emotional. A gulf carved by years of silence, neglect, and selfishness. I turned onto my side, looked at the back of her head, and whispered words I hadn't said in too long. I love you. Her breathing didn't change, but the words hung there, real, heavy, binding me in a way no demon ever could. That night I lay awake for hours, staring at the ceiling, replaying everything. The drink, the shadows, the teeth, her voice, layered and mocking, whispering about WAP like a prophecy only she could see. A song that didn't exist yet, but one day would. The thought chilled me, because when it finally hit the charts, when the world danced and laughed to it, I would know it wasn't just music. It was a spell, a chant, a demon's hymn dressed as entertainment. And I had seen the mouth it came from. Years passed. I stayed. That night broke me, but it also remade me. I was faithful, not because I feared getting caught, but because I feared myself, because I knew what I had brushed against, what I had seen beneath the skin of a woman the world would one day worship. My marriage healed, slowly. The silence shrank, the conversations came back, the distance closed. My wife and I rebuilt, brick by fragile brick, until our home was no longer a graveyard, but a place where life could grow again. She never knew what happened that night, never knew how close I had come to losing her. Some secrets aren't worth sharing. And yet, even in happiness, even in love, I never forgot. Sometimes, when I whispered "I love you" into the dark, I swore I heard it whispered back in a voice that wasn't hers. Sometimes, when my wife looked at me across the kitchen table, her eyes would flicker black for just a heartbeat before returning to normal. Little reminders, little hauntings. Cardi had let me go, but demons don't let go forever. They linger, they wait. And when WAP finally hit the world, I couldn't listen. Not because of the words, not because of the music, but because I could hear her in it. The laugh she gave me in that coffin of a hotel room. The promise that the world would sing her name, whether they understood or not. Now, years later, I still lie in bed beside my wife, grateful, faithful, alive. But when I close my eyes, I see her crouched at the foot of that bed, black eyes glittering, whispering promises in a voice that wasn't made for this world. Cardi B wasn't just a dancer. She wasn't just a woman chasing fame. She was desire sharpened to a blade. She was hunger wrapped in flesh. She was a demon dressed as ambition, and she still walks among us. So let me ask you this. Why do we celebrate her? Why do we cheer for someone who wears her demon so proudly, who devours men like they're nothing more than fuel for her climb? Tell me in the comments. Why do we celebrate Cardi B, even though she is a demonic man-eater? I'll be watching, and I'll respond to what you have to say.